Hey guys, I'm Tim Horgan from Debug Pest Control, and today we are going to be dealing with an issue that any company that works in the Northeast or in cold environments has certainly dealt with before, and that's when a technician leaves a pump can in the truck overnight and they cause their wand to freeze and crack. Sometimes the expression burp the wand, where it pops open. They're brass wands, so it's really important that we're telling our technicians don't leave this equipment in the truck overnight. If they do, it will freeze, they'll break the wands. The wands are not only expensive to replace, but as you'll see in this video, there's a process to replacing them. So in this video, what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna reassemble a pump can that had a wand expand and crack, and I'm gonna put a new wand on it. So in this, you'll be able to see exactly how it goes back together, and then to take it apart, you would do the opposite. You would just go in the reverse order and take it all apart. This is something that, is very helpful for your technicians to know, or at least have somebody on staff who can help out with this. We are using a B&G pump can, probably the more commonly used pump can in the industry. The specifics on each pump can is going to be a little bit different, but they all will be something similar. So let's focus on the B&G today. So let's look at the table, kind of look at some of the tools that I have with me today, some things that I think are very important to have. I printed out, I have a little book here. This has a diagram and a breakdown of all the part numbers for the B&G pump can. You can often get this right off their website. I think these are very helpful to have, especially if you have to order part numbers. It will give you the part number itself, so when you go looking it up, it's much easier to find it. And then if you need to refer back to it, just to make sure you're putting a part on the right way or it's facing the right direction. So I always advise printing this out and having one handy with you for any type of repair on a can. You're also gonna make sure that you have a adjustable wrench, a pair of pliers. You're gonna want needle nose pliers. You're gonna want some flathead screwdrivers. I have 2 of them, but you want at least one. I do like to keep a small wire brush just to clean off the pump can as I go, a rag, and then what's really super important is making sure you have your gloves so you can be safe. One little thing that I keep that not everybody will, and this is kind of an unusual thing, is I have a small set of dental tools here that I got off Amazon. They were like $10. It makes it very hard. The pump can itself makes it very difficult. There's a section where there's white bushings that can be very difficult to get out. And a lot of times I hear people complain, I can't get them out, I can't get them out. And those bushings can crack and cause the can to leak, so you need to be able to. So in those cases, often I'll use these dental tools and I find them very helpful. So it's just a little thing I like to have, but you don't need to have. So this is a B&G wand. This is an 18-inch wand. It's not standard for most cans. You have to order the 18-inch wand if you want it, but this is what most technicians are gonna run with. So when you get it and it comes in, the new wand comes in just like this, nothing on it, nothing in it. So you basically get it fresh and you have to reattach it. So we have our handle here and we have our pump can here. And now we're gonna go basically through this wand and we're gonna reverse assemble it back together. So first things first, let's throw on our gloves. All right, so let's take our wand and let's stick with what makes the wand work. So what makes the wand work is the cable. The cable goes inside the wand. All right, this is our cable here. When you take it out, it can be challenging to take out because it can only go in one way and it can only come out one way. So that's why you have to, unfortunately, if you do burp a wand or crack a wand, that's why you have to take the whole thing apart to reassemble it, is because in order to do it, you have to take that cable out. In order to take the cable out, you have to take the entire wand apart. So that's what makes this so challenging. So let's start with our cable. So when you're looking at our cable, you'll notice there's 2 ends to the cable. They both have a thread on each end, but you'll notice one of the threaded ends is significantly longer than the other end. It's about twice the size, all right? That's the end that stays on the back side of the wand. So when I put this cable up into the wand, I'm gonna take the shorter end, the shorter threaded side, and that's gonna go up first. And I'm gonna actually, you know what? I think it's gonna go in right here, and we're gonna slide it up. If you use the side with the longer thread, all right, it won't be able to make the arc or the bend at the end of the wand, and it won't be able to go all the way up. You also need this longer side because this is the side that goes in the handle and this is the side that goes in the head of the wand. So now we've pulled our cable through, and now we gotta make sure our cable doesn't fall back through. So there's a couple of things that go on to the top of the wand, all right? And that's gonna be the first thing is the spring. So there's a small spring that comes with it. You're gonna slide this right back onto the cable itself, and then it will fall right into the canister there, right into the top of the wand, and that's fine. And now we need to put the top back onto this. So there's 2 small pieces that go on. There's a nut that sits at the top, and there's a small washer that goes on it as well, all right? And that will hold it in place. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna thread on the small washer first. They go on really easy. You don't have to tighten everything super tight. That's just gonna make it way harder for you when you have to take it apart again. You want to make sure it's tight enough where you're not leaking or having issues, but don't make it so tight that you just need, a bench to take it apart. All right, and now we're going to screw the head on. All right, and now when you do this, what you've done is, all right, you've made sure that that wand, all right, that cable can't come through anymore. So now, if you look at the end, you'll see we have the head on the cable, and we have the spring there. The spring's what opens and closes that valve when we pull on the trigger of our can to release the spray. So we're gonna close that, we're gonna push that down and in, all right, and we're almost done with the top of our wand. So the next components for the top of our wand, all right, so this is the head of the wand itself. It comes as one piece here. Oops, sorry, we get used to the angle. So it's one piece, but it will be kind of wobbly. You can shake it a little bit. That's the head of the wand. That's where it's gonna spray, and that's where it goes onto it's gonna thread onto the top of the wand there. All right, but before we do that, there is a small piece that right like this, all right? That's gonna go on first. Now, that's gonna go inside of this, all right, and it's gonna sit there. Now, you wanna make sure you have it facing the right direction, and often when people put it on initially, they actually put it on the wrong way. So you wanna make sure that that's the smaller circle, all right, is sitting on top, so that when this small top of this closes, it shuts, and that's what stops the spray from coming through. So we got to make sure that it will seal there. So once you have that placed on correctly, so again, we're making sure that this side, the smaller side of the circle, is on the top. All right. So we're going to take this, we're going to place it in there. All right. And now we're going to thread it back onto our wand. Now this is going to be hard because you have to push down. That spring is going to spring load it. So it's trying to push, it's going to resist you. You're going to have to push it and tighten it. And then once you push it and tighten it, you want to make sure you have it nice and tight, because you don't want leaks. So this is a lot of times where like the adjustable wrench is handy to have, because you can really get again, you don't need it so tight that it, will never come off again. But you do want it nice and tight on there. So now we have our wand almost reassembled to the point where we can start putting it back together with the handle. And the handle is where the real adventure starts. So the last part that we have on the tip of the wand, or the head of the wand, is the actual applicator tip. So this is very common, you guys will see these, and the securing ring that will hold it into place. So the applicator tip slips through there. Your applicator tip this tip has 3 settings. It has a fan spray, it has a very fine fan spray, and it has pin stream. So when you set it onto the wand, onto the head of the wand, you want to make sure that you line up the tip of the wand to whichever fan spray or whichever spray you want. One thing that's important, and you'll notice in this wand here at the top, on that tip there should be a black O-ring, and this one does not have one. So if you try to use this right now without that black O-ring, you're gonna leak everywhere. So in my parts box, I have one. All right, so this is the small O-rings. I keep a lot of extra parts around. It's a good idea. You're gonna need them. If you're doing a lot, I can repair. Let's see. Take this small O-ring, and we're just gonna put this around the applicator tip at the top, and now I'll show you. Right there, you can see now I have that black ring in there. All right, that's gonna make sure it doesn't leak from the tip. All right, so now we're gonna set our head on it. We're gonna set it to, I'll set this to fan spray. There's nothing in the can right now anyways. So I'll set the fan spray, I stick it on the top, and then all I'm gonna do is secure that ring, and that's gonna hold the tip of the can in place. All right, so now we have the tip of our can is all reassembled, and our wand is about halfway done. All right, this was the easy part though. The next part's the hard part. All right, so that's our wand. We're gonna retest that. Now we gotta put our handle back together. Now this is why we have to take the whole thing apart, because the cable has to run through the handle. So if we're replacing the wand and we gotta take the cable out, we gotta take the handle apart to get the cable out. So let's start with just the handle itself, and we're gonna run that cable through. You know what, before we do that, I'm gonna show you the worst part of repairing a can. And that is dealing with the 3 small white bushings that go in the handle. So this is the small white bushing right here, tiny, right? It goes inside the handle itself. So if you open up the handle and you're looking at the handle, you'll notice there's a hole right inside here, inside this compartment here, and 3 white bushings go in there. And why are the white bushings so difficult to deal with? Well, the white bushings are difficult to deal with for one very obvious reason that makes them very challenging, and that's getting them out. So when the white bushings crack, which doesn't happen often, but can happen with a can, and your can can start leaking from the handle itself. Often I'll have technicians complain, they'll say it's leaking on my hands while I'm spraying. Well, it's because these white bushings, where the cable runs through, can become loose or cracked and they can break, and then that allows a small, slow drip to come through. So getting those bushings out after you've tightened everything in there is incredibly difficult, and that's where having just a small set of cheap dental tools from Amazon for 10 bucks has really changed my my life for the better. I'm able to pull those little white bushings out, no problem. You put 3 new white bushings in there and you're good to go. It's wiser to put the bushings in first before you run through the cable. You could also run through the cable and then slide the bushings down, but you want to make sure the bushings get all the way down in the handle and get them as far down as you can, because you're going to have to thread something in there. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to run that cable. We're going to attach the handle to the wand. So let's get up in there. All right. And now we're going to just thread it together. Now you want to be careful with this, because as you're threading it together, you want to make sure it lines up. And what do I mean by that is when somebody's holding the handle, you don't want the, you don't want it like this where they're spraying the wrong way. So you want to try and get it in there and tighten this and keep it all straight. And that can be challenging. A lot of times when you're doing this, I work in a shop, and I often advise using a vise, because you can sit things in the vise and it makes it very easy to tighten things with the wrench and hold things into place. For this particular video, we don't have a vise available, so we're just going to do it this way. But if you're doing it yourself, I would advise using a vise. All right, so again, we're going to tighten that. I don't ever go crazy, but I tighten it up enough. And then once we go test the can later on, if it's leaking from that area, it just needs one more like pull or a little bit more tighten. So we're getting further along. We got our white bushings in, all right. We've got our cable in, all right. Now let's keep going. So next is this small nut here. It's a silver nut, all right. This is gonna come through next. So this is gonna go right back. You're gonna thread this right onto the cable, and you're going to push this right down. It will give some resistance because there is a rubber gasket in there. That's again designed to keep fluid from coming through the wrong end. And you're just going to push it down, pull that cable through. This is where like things like needle nose come in handy, because I can hold it and pull that, because that rubber gasket's going to fight you. All right, and once you get that down in, now you're going to start threading that piece in. All right, you don't want to over thread this. A lot of times when I talk about over tightening, a lot of times people can over tighten this piece. And when they do, what they do is they crack those white bushings, because they tighten and tighten and tighten. If it's leaking from that area, it's most likely because the bushings are broken and not because this isn't tightened enough. Sometimes it is, but it shouldn't be so tight that you can't like that it's so tight that you can barely move it. Because if you tighten it that much, it's going to break the bushings and you're going to have leak. All right, so now we've got our silver piece locked in. Cable's coming through, everything's moving forward. All right, so now the next part I like to do is there's 2 small pieces that go on the cable itself that will hold the handle in place. So the handle's a trigger, so when it pulls, it needs to pull that cable. So there's 2 small pieces. One looks like this. That's the first one we put on. It's just like a washer, basically. And we're gonna put that on. Use your needle nose, hold it in place, and you're just gonna thread that all the way down. And you'll understand in a second, it's part of the trigger mechanism. So we put that piece on first, and now we can put on our trigger, because our silver trigger, our handle, we're gonna take it, we're gonna wrap it in here, we're gonna drop it over the top, all right, like so. And now we have this small kit that comes with your handle, and it's right there. And these are gonna thread in together. So you're gonna unthread the screw. So there's a small screw, and then there is a pin. This small pin is gonna go through the top of the handle. All right, now that we have that through the handle, we're gonna take the small screw and secure the pin. All right, again, take a small flathead screwdriver, and we're just gonna, I keep my finger on the other screw to hold pressure on it, and so I can thread in the screw head. It is wise to keep 2 screwdrivers on you, because a lot of times these screw heads, it can be challenging to hold it into place and screw it in at the same time. So again, if you have a vise, and you put the wand in the vise and hold it up into place, you can use one screwdriver to hold one screw head in place and the other screwdriver to then thread in the screw. They can sometimes be a little bit more challenging. It depends, but in this case, let's get this one here all set. These can fall out a lot on guys, so it's always wise to have extras. All right, so now our trigger is attached and secured, not going anywhere, all right? But the problem is, when I pull on our trigger right now, it doesn't do anything. So that's where we need to put in this next piece. So let's look at it. So there's a small locking nut that we're gonna put in on the back of the cable there. And we're gonna take that and we're gonna thread that right back onto the wire, onto the cable. And then what we do is, thread it on. Also can be a little challenging. To help you out with this, the back here is open right now. You can stick your screwdriver right in and you can just thread it. It won't go all the way because the cable will actually start to block you at a certain point, but it will get you going. And again, we're having some resistance with the cable itself, where the cable's moving on me, so I might have to hold it into place and yeah, this cable's being a pain in the butt. You just got to get it started. Once you get it started, it will thread no problem. Boy. All right, so now we've got our trigger attached. You know, threading in those screws can be somewhat difficult, but sometimes that's why the needle nose pliers are super handy. You can hold the cable in place while you thread them in. But now we've got it attached, and now the trigger not loose anymore. Now when we pull on the trigger, all right, we're actually getting pressure. And what it's doing is when you pull down on this trigger, it's pulling the cable, which is opening the valve and allowing the spray to come out. So now that we've got that attached, we're in good shape. All right, so we're almost done. So now we've got the wand put together. We've got the head on the wand. We've got the trigger on the wand. So let's now finish up and wrap up. So the last thing we like to do is we like to put our locking nut back onto the wand. This is so that you can lock your wand when you don't want to spray, and it will hold the trigger in place. So this just screws back onto the open hole, and then there's this small little crimping device here. Very small, very hard to see. You know, I'll do a quick run through and show you guys all the stuff so you can see everything, but it's this tiny little piece here. Maybe if I hold it, yeah, there it is. It's like a C, all right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slap that right onto there, and that's gonna hold that locking nut into place. We're gonna, like right on the bottom thread. So if I were to try and de-thread this nut or have this lock come out of place, it won't come all the way out, and that's so you can secure it to the can and you're gonna worry about losing it. So now when I unthread this, that's as far as it goes. It won't come out anymore. All right, and now when I don't want to fire off the wand, I can pull the trigger there and I can lock it. All right, so that's all set. So now let's wrap up real quick. We got our filter. The filter goes into the wand. You always, when you take apart a wand, you'll notice there's a small filter in there. This is to catch debris that comes out of the inside there. So we're gonna put that in. There's a small white O-ring that goes around it again, trying to keep some of the bigger debris from coming up out of your can. All right, and you're gonna put that right on there. And then you're gonna have this small adapter, all right? And then we're gonna thread this right to the can. So now we get our adapter on there. Let's tighten that. So this is a completed wand. All right, it's got the adapter to attach to the hose. It's got a trigger, got the head of the wand. Cable's been replaced. The wand is brand new. It's no cracks. All right, now we got our can. All right, so our can's super easy. The next part's really easy. It's just the cable. So often when you get these, they come in a package. You just open them up, and all you gotta do is thread. You'll see there's two ends. One end is a end that is meant for something to screw. I guess that would be the male end, and this would be the female end. And then you're gonna take the female end of the cord, and you're just going to attach it to the can and just thread it on. sure you have it on there secure. And just secure it with a wrench. You can use an adjustable wrench, pliers, whatever you have available. All right, so now we get that secure. Now we get our can, and we're gonna just attach our wand right to the can. All right, take our pliers, tighten it up. All right, now we're back to where we were. We're attached to the can, throw it in there. You know, our cylinder goes right in the center. And now, you always want to throw some water in it, take it for a test run. Never trust what you've done. I've learned that from repairing cans for a lot of years, is that even when you think you got everything right, you didn't. So the next step would go, let's go outside, let's throw some water in it. I would test it. Often I just test it right on the foundation of the building. Again, I just use water inside the can. Once the can's been triple rinsed and everything, it's okay to just put water in the can to test it. Make sure it's good, and then you should have a fully functioning can again, and you should have replaced a wand on a B&G sprayer. All right, yeah, guys. So this is something that hopefully it helps people who are dealing with these pieces of equipment in the field. And thanks for watching the video.